The bridge of the USS Endeavour hummed with quiet activity as Captain Jake Morrison studied the star charts displayed before him. The massive human dreadnought cruised through the dark void of space, its hull scarred from countless battles fought in humanity's push beyond Earth's solar system. For 3 months, Morrison and his crew had patrolled the Outer Rim territories, keeping watch for pirates and smugglers who preyed on merchant vessels traveling the trade routes. Morrison was a veteran of 20 years in the human space navy. His weathered face showed the strain of commanding one of Earth's most powerful warships, but his eyes remained sharp and alert. At 45, he had seen humanity grow from a single-world species to a force that other aliens both feared and respected throughout the galaxy. Commander. Lisa Brooks sat at the tactical station, her fingers dancing across the control panels as she monitored long-range sensors. She was younger than Morrison by 10 years, but her skill with weapons, systems, and battle tactics had earned her rapid promotion through the ranks. The other species in the galaxy often underestimated human females, not understanding that Earth's harsh environment had made both men and women equally dangerous when threatened. The communications officer, Lieutenant Danny Chen, suddenly straightened in his chair. His headset crackled with an incoming transmission on emergency frequencies. Chen frowned as he adjusted the signal, trying to clear the static that interfered with the message. "Captain," Chen called out, his voice tense with confusion. "Receiving a priority transmission on Galactic Council emergency channels. The signal is weak and breaking up, but it's definitely not human in origin." Morrison turned toward the communications station, his interest piqued. The Galactic Council rarely contacted human vessels directly. Most alien species preferred to keep their distance from what they called Deathworlders, beings who came from planets so dangerous that they had evolved into natural warriors and survivors. "Clean it up and put it on the main screen," Morrison ordered. The bridge's large display flickered to life, showing the image of an alien creature unlike anything the crew had seen before. The being had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light, with large dark eyes that conveyed deep fear and desperation. Its mouth moved in patterns that the ship's translation computers struggled to interpret. "Translation matrix is having trouble with the dialect," Chen reported. "But I'm getting fragments. Something about help, urgent assistance, and destruction." Brooks leaned forward in her chair, studying the alien's appearance. "That's a Villani," she said with surprise. "I've seen them in the diplomatic files. They're one of the most peaceful species in the galaxy. They've never asked humans for anything before." The signal strengthened suddenly, and the alien's words became clearer through the translation system. The creature's voice was high and musical, but filled with panic. "This is Ambassador Zeth Kalar of the Villani Federation." The transmission began. "I send this message to any who might hear it, though I fear it may be too late. Our worlds are under attack by forces we cannot hope to defeat. The Korth Dominion has begun systematic destruction of our colonies." Morrison felt his jaw tighten. He had heard reports of the Korth Dominion, an aggressive species that expanded their territory through conquest and slavery. Until now, they had stayed far from human space, content to prey on weaker civilizations. The alien continued, its large eyes seeming to look directly at Morrison through the screen. "3 of our worlds have already fallen. Millions of our people are dead or enslaved. Our defense fleets have been destroyed. And the Galactic Council's peacekeeping forces cannot match the Korth's numbers and brutality." Brooks checked her tactical displays, noting the location data embedded in the transmission. "The signal is coming from Villani space, Captain. That's 4 days' travel at maximum hyperspace speed." The ambassador's next words shocked everyone on the bridge. "We know that many species fear your kind. They call you Deathworlders and say that your people are too violent, too dangerous to trust. But we have no choice left. The Korth show no mercy to civilians. They destroy entire populations without hesitation." Morrison stood up from his captain's chair, walking closer to the main screen. The desperate alien continued its plea. "We beg you, humans of Earth, please help us. We have children on our remaining worlds, families who have never known war or violence. The Korth will kill them all unless someone intervenes. Our mathematical models show that only a species with your military capabilities could possibly stand against them. Transmission began to break up again, filled with static and interference. Chen worked frantically to maintain the signal, but it was clear the source was under attack. "Please," the ambassador's voice came through one final time. "If there is any compassion in your warrior hearts, come to our aid. We were wrong to fear you. We should have sought your friendship long ago. Now we can only hope that you will not let innocent people die because of our past mistakes." The screen went dark, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Morrison stared at the blank display for a long moment before turning to Brooks. "Get me a priority channel to Earth Command." "Authorization. Code Morrison Alpha 7. "Yes, sir," Brooks replied. "Already working on the communication link." Lieutenant Chen looked up from his station. "Captain, should I log this as a formal distress call?" Morrison nodded grimly. "Log it as a request for military assistance from the Villani Federation. Track it Priority 1 and flag it for immediate command review." As the crew worked to establish contact with Earth, Morrison considered the implications of what they had just witnessed. For years, humanity had struggled to find acceptance among the galactic community. Most alien species viewed them as dangerous primitives who had somehow developed advanced technology despite their violent nature. Now, for the first time, another species was asking for help, not despite humanity's warrior nature, but because of it. The Villani had swallowed their pride and fear to reach out to the very people they had once avoided. Morrison made his decision. Whether Earth Command approved or not, he would not let innocent people die while he had the power to help them. Admiral Helen Carter stood before the massive holographic display in Earth Command's war room, watching as red dots marked the locations of Korth attacks across Villani space. The 70-year-old woman had spent her entire adult life in the human military, rising through the ranks during humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her uniform bore the scars of countless battles fought in defense of human colonies. Captain Morrison's emergency transmission had reached Earth Command just 6 hours ago, but Carter had already made her decision. Around the table sat the senior staff of Earth's military forces, their faces grim as they studied the tactical situation. "The Villani Federation has never been hostile to human interests," Carter began, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had commanded fleets in the darkest corners of space. "They kept their distance from us, yes, but they never actively worked against our expansion or trade agreements." General Robert Hayes, the head of Earth's Marine Forces, leaned forward. "Admiral, with respect, we're talking about deploying our entire expeditionary fleet. That's 60% of our combat-ready ships. If this is a trap, or if other threats emerge while we're committed to Villani space, we could leave Earth vulnerable." Carter nodded, understanding his concerns. "The risk is real, General. But consider this. If we allow the Korth to destroy the Villani Federation, how long before they turn their attention to human space? Better to fight them now, on our terms, than wait for them to arrive at our borders with an even larger fleet." The holographic display shifted to show the current positions of human naval units. Ships were scattered across dozens of systems, protecting trade routes and human colonies. To gather them into a single strike force would take careful coordination. And perfect timing, Captain Ryan Kelly commanded the assault carrier USS Defiant, currently stationed at the Titan shipyards. When he received the mobilization order, his first thought was of the Marine battalions under his command. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were men and women trained to fight in the harshest environments the galaxy could offer. Earth's dangerous nature had produced humans who could survive in conditions that would kill most alien species. Kelly walked through the carrier's hangar bays, watching as his Marines prepared their equipment. Sergeant First Class Maria Santos was checking her squad's armor systems, making sure each suit could handle the vacuum of space as well as toxic atmospheres. Her team had fought pirates in the asteroid fields of the Centauri system, learning to use zero gravity as a weapon against enemies who struggled with three-dimensional combat. "Sergeant Santos," Kelly called out, "what's your assessment of our readiness?" Santos turned to face her captain, her scarred face showing the confidence of a veteran who had survived battles that would have broken weaker soldiers. "Sir, the Men and women are ready. We've been training for large-scale operations like this for months. The new assault pods are tested and operational, and our powered armor has been upgraded with the latest shield generators. In another part of the galaxy, Commander Ben Patterson received his orders aboard the destroyer USS Rampart. His ship was part of a fast attack squadron designed for hit-and-run missions against superior enemy forces. Patterson had earned his reputation fighting smugglers and pirates. Using speed and firepower to overcome numerical disadvantages, his tactical officer, Lieutenant Carol Stone, was already plotting hyperspace jump coordinates. "Commander, if we push our engines to maximum, we can reach the rally point in 36 hours. The other destroyers in our squadron are reporting similar arrival times." Patterson studied the data on his command screen. The Korth used heavy battleships in overwhelming numbers to crush their enemies. Against such tactics, human doctrine emphasized mobility and concentrated firepower. His destroyers would serve as the fleet's scouts and quick-strike elements, hitting enemy ships before they could bring their main guns to bear. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Colonel Amy Rodriguez coordinated the massive logistics operation required to move an entire fleet across galactic distances. Rodriguez had spent years perfecting the art of military supply chains, ensuring that human forces could fight far from home without running out of ammunition or supplies. Her warehouse complexes stretched for kilometers, filled with everything, from replacement parts for starship engines to medical supplies for treating wounded soldiers. The scale of Operation Valkyrie required moving enough equipment to support a fleet of over 200 ships for months of combat operations. Colonel Rodriguez called out her aide, Captain Pete Wilson. "The ammunition ships are loaded and ready for departure. The medical transports are finishing their supply runs now." Rodriguez nodded, checking her tablet for the latest status reports. "What about the food supplies? We're dealing with a mixed fleet here. Human crews have different dietary needs than our alien allies." "Already handled, ma'am. We've included standard rations for human crews and nutritional supplements that work with most known alien physiologies. Dr. Patricia Wells provided the specifications based on her xenobiology research." Dr. Wells was aboard the science vessel USS Discovery, reviewing everything humanity knew about Korth biology and combat tactics. Research had uncovered disturbing patterns in Korth behavior. Unlike most species, who fought wars with clear objectives and rules of engagement, the Korth seemed to enjoy causing suffering. Their attacks on civilian populations served no strategic purpose, except to spread terror. Working alongside Wells was Major Chris Thompson, leading expert on alien military systems. Thompson had studied Korth ships captured during previous encounters with other species. His analysis revealed that Korth technology was not particularly advanced. They relied on brute force and superior numbers rather than tactical innovation. Dr. Wells, as Thompson said, pointing to a holographic display of Korth ship designs. "Their vessels are heavily armored but slow to maneuver. They're built for direct frontal assault against enemies who will try to run away." Wells nodded, understanding the implications. "They've never faced an opponent who fights back with equal aggression. Human ships are designed to take damage and keep fighting. That could give us a significant advantage." As the human fleet began to assemble, word spread throughout the galaxy. Alien observers watched in fascination and growing concern as humanity revealed the true extent of its military capabilities. Ships emerged from hidden bases that most species had never known existed, demonstrating technologies that challenged long-held assumptions about human development. The peaceful Althari Republic sent a formal message to Earth Command, expressing their concern about such a large military deployment. The message was polite but carried an underlying tone of worry about human intentions. Admiral Carter replied personally, her message broadcast on open galactic channels. "Humanity does not seek conquest or domination. We seek to protect innocent people who cannot protect themselves." The Korth Dominion has proven that they are a threat to all peaceful species in the galaxy. As the first human ships began their journey toward Villani space, Captain Morrison received updates on the fleet's progress. Soon, he would no longer be alone in facing the core threat. The full might of Earth's military was coming to answer the Villani plea for help. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity's warrior nature was directed toward protecting the innocent rather than conquering the weak. The USS Endeavour dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Villani space, and Captain Morrison immediately knew they were too late to save everyone. The main display showed 3 dead worlds floating in the darkness, their surfaces still glowing from orbital bombardment. Debris fields marked where Villani defense ships had made their final stands against impossible odds. Commander Brooks worked frantically at her tactical station, scanning for survivors among the wreckage. "Captain, I'm detecting life signs on the 4th planet. Looks like a refugee camp on the northern continent, but there are Korth ships moving toward that location." Morrison studied the tactical display, counting enemy vessels. 12 Korth battleships formed a loose formation around the surviving Villani world. Their massive hulls bristling with weapons designed for planetary bombardment, the Korth ships were ugly things built for intimidation rather than efficiency. Their dark metal surfaces were covered with spikes and aggressive angles that served no purpose except to frighten their enemies. "How long until they reach the refugee camp?" Morrison asked. "At their current speed, maybe 4 hours," Brooks replied. "Captain, we're outnumbered 12 to 1. The Endeavour is powerful, but those are heavy battleships." Morrison knew the odds were against them, but he also knew something the Korth did not understand. Human ships were not built like the elegant vessels favored by most alien species. Earth's dangerous environment had taught humanity to build machines that could take punishment and keep working. Where other species designed their ships for speed or beauty, humans built theirs to survive. "All hands, this is the Captain Morrison," announced over the ship's communication system. "We are about to engage a superior enemy force to protect innocent civilians. I know what I'm asking of you, but these people have nowhere else to turn. Battle stations." The Endeavour's crew moved with practiced efficiency. Chief Engineer Tony Martinez sealed off damaged sections and rerouted power to the main weapons. Gunnery Sergeant Kate Johnson prepared the kinetic artillery, loading tungsten slugs that could punch through armor plating like bullets through paper. Morrison ordered the ship forward, directly toward the Korth formation, the human dreadnoughts. Approach did not go unnoticed. The alien ships began turning to face this new threat, their commanders clearly confused by the arrival of a single enemy vessel, the lead. Korth ship transmitted a message on standard frequencies. The translation came through as a series of harsh growls and threatening sounds. "Unknown vessel, you will withdraw immediately or be destroyed. This system belongs to the Korth Dominion." Morrison stood on his bridge, watching the enemy ships grow larger on the display. "Lieutenant Chen, open a channel to the Korth fleet." "Channel open, sir. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship Endeavour. You are hereby ordered to cease your attack on the Villani population and withdraw from this system immediately." The response came quickly, filled with what sounded like alien laughter. "Humans, we have heard of your species. We're small and weak like all the others we have conquered. One ship cannot stand against the might of the Korth Dominion." Brooks looked up from her station. "Captain, they're powering weapons. All 12 ships are targeting us." Morrison settled into his command chair. "Fire when ready, Commander Brooks." Endeavour's main guns spoke first, sending streams of accelerated tungsten into the lead Korth battleship. The human kinetic weapons were unlike anything the Korth had faced before. Most galactic species used energy-based weapons that could be absorbed by shields or deflected by armor plating. Human weapons used simple physics, solid metal moving at incredible speed. The tungsten slugs punched through the Korth ship's armor like it was made of paper. Secondary explosions rippled along the alien vessel's hull as the kinetic energy transferred into heat and destruction. Within seconds, the lead battleship was drifting dead in space, its crew killed by their own exploding ammunition. The remaining Korth ships returned fire, sending waves of plasma and laser energy toward the human dreadnought. The Endeavour's shields flared as they absorbed the incoming fire, but they held. Human shield technology was designed to handle the radiation storms and solar flares that made life near Earth so dangerous. "Shields at 70%, reported," Lieutenant Sam Baker from the engineering station. All systems operational. Morrison watched as the Korth formation began to spread out, trying to surround his single ship. It was a logical tactic against most enemies. But humans had learned to fight in 3 dimensions during their early expansion into Earth's asteroid fields. The Endeavor rolled and dove, using its superior maneuverability to avoid being trapped. Human ship's secondary guns opened fire, sending missiles and laser bursts into the Korth formation. Each weapon strike was carefully aimed at critical systems, engines, weapon mounts, and bridge sections. Human tactical doctrine emphasized precision over raw firepower, a lesson learned from fighting in the limited resources of space. 2 more Korth ships exploded as their reactors overloaded. The surviving aliens began to realize they were facing something entirely different from their previous enemies. The Villani had fought with honor and elegance, using beautiful ships and sophisticated tactics. The humans fought like their home. World had taught them brutal, efficient, and without mercy for those who threatened the innocent. Commander Brooks coordinated the ship's weapons as they engaged multiple targets simultaneously. Captain, 3 more Korth ships are breaking off. They're trying to reach the planet's surface. Morrison knew what that meant. If the Korth ships reached the refugee camp, millions of Villani civilians would die. Martinez, give me everything the engines have. We need to intercept those ships. The Endeavor surged forward, its powerful engines pushing the massive ship to speeds that strained its structural integrity. The human dreadnought cut across the Korth formation's path, placing itself between the alien ships and the planet below. The next few minutes were chaos. Korth battleships fired everything they had at the lone human vessel, trying to destroy it before it could interfere with their mission. The Endeavor's armor glowed red-hot under the assault, but it did not break. Human engineering had created a ship that could survive in the vacuum of space while being bombarded by cosmic radiation and meteor impacts. Lieutenant Johnson's gunnery crews worked without pause, loading and firing the main guns as fast as the weapons could cycle. Each shot was carefully aimed to cause maximum damage to enemy ships while conserving ammunition. The humans knew they might have to fight for hours before reinforcements arrived. One by one, the Korth ships fell silent. Some were destroyed outright by the Endeavor's weapons. Others were crippled and drifting, their crews dead or dying. The few remaining alien vessels tried to retreat, but Morrison was not finished with them. No survivors leave this system, he ordered. These ships came here to murder civilians. They don't get to go home and try again somewhere else. The last Korth battleship exploded in a brilliant flash as its ammunition stores detonated. The Endeavor floated alone among the debris, its hull scarred but intact. The immediate threat to the Villani refugees was over, but Morrison knew this was only the beginning. His communication officer looked up from his station. Captain, I'm receiving multiple hyperspace signatures. Large ships incoming. Morrison tensed, wondering if Korth reinforcements had arrived. Then he saw the identification codes on his display and smiled for the first time in hours. The symbols marked the ships as human vessels. Admiral Carter's expeditionary fleet had finally arrived. The real war was about to begin. Admiral Helen Carter's flagship emerged from hyperspace with a flash of blue light that lit up the dark void around the Villani system. Behind her came 67 human warships, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled for a single operation. The sight of so many human vessels in one place sent shockwaves through the galaxy as alien observers realized the true scale of Earth's military power. Captain Morrison watched from the bridge of the Endeavor as ship after ship dropped out of hyperspace. The assault carrier USS Defiant appeared first, its massive hull bristling with fighter craft and marine assault pods. Commander Ben Patterson's destroyer squadron followed, their sleek ships moving in perfect formation despite the complex hyperspace exit. Admiral Carter is requesting communication, Captain, reported Lieutenant Chen from his station. The main screen flickered to life, showing the weathered face of Earth's most senior military commander. Admiral Carter's expression was grim as she surveyed the debris field that had once been a Korth attack fleet. Captain Morrison, your report. Carter said without preamble. Morrison stood at attention despite being alone on his own bridge. 12 Korth battleships destroyed, Admiral. The immediate threat to Villani civilians has been eliminated. However, intelligence gathered from the enemy ships suggests this was only a scouting force. The main Korth fleet is still in their home territory, preparing for a larger invasion. Carter nodded, having expected such news. How many Villani survivors? Commander Brooks answered from her tactical station. Approximately 2 million refugees on the fourth planet, Admiral. Their infrastructure is badly damaged, but they're alive. The Admiral's expression softened slightly. For all her reputation, as a hardened military commander, Carter had never forgotten that the purpose of war was to protect innocent people. Begin relief operations immediately. I want medical teams and supply ships deployed within the hour. Captain Ryan Kelly received his orders aboard the USS Defiant and immediately began organizing the humanitarian mission. His Marines were trained killers, but they were also humans who understood suffering. Sergeant Maria Santos led the first relief team to the planet's surface. Carrying medical supplies and emergency food rations, the Villani refugees gathered around the human landing craft with a mixture of hope and fear. These were the same species they had once considered dangerous primitives, yet these humans had risked their lives to save Villani civilians. The contradiction was difficult for many aliens to understand. Ambassador Zeth Kalar approached Sergeant Santos as she supervised the unloading of supplies. The Villani diplomat's pale blue skin was marked with stress patterns, and his large dark eyes showed exhaustion from weeks of constant terror. Sergeant Santos, the ambassador, said through a translation device, "I must thank you and your people. We were wrong about humans. We called you Deathworlders and feared your violent nature, but you have shown us that violence can be used to protect rather than destroy."
Ow!
Santos looked at the alien diplomat, remembering her own childhood on Mars colony where human settlements faced constant threats from the harsh environment. "Ambassador, where I come from, we learned early that the strong protect the weak. That's not violence. That's just being human." Dr. Susan Walsh set up field hospitals using portable medical equipment designed for battlefield conditions. Human Doctor had served in 3 colonial wars, treating wounds that would have killed most alien species. Now, she found herself working to save Villani civilians whose physiology was completely different from anything in her medical training. Working alongside Walsh was Dr. Patricia Wells, the fleet's xenobiologist. Wells had spent years studying alien biology, but this was her first chance to provide medical care to non-human patients. The two doctors worked together, combining human medical technology with what little they knew about Villani physiology. "Their cellular structure is more fragile than ours," Wells explained as she examined a wounded Villani child. "But they respond well to our pain medications. The nanobotic healing systems seem to work on their tissue as well as ours." Meanwhile, Major Chris Thompson interrogated captured Korth prisoners in the brig of Admiral Carter's flagship. The alien captives were larger than humans, with thick gray skin and forearms that ended in clawed hands. Their faces were dominated by small red eyes and mouths filled with sharp teeth, designed for tearing flesh. Thompson had dealt with many hostile alien species during his intelligence career, but the Korth were different. Most aggressive species fought for resources, territory, or political control. The Korth seemed to fight for the simple pleasure of causing pain and death. "Your fleet was destroyed," Thompson told the lead Korth prisoner, through a translation device. "Your people died." "For nothing. Why did you attack the Villani?" The alien prisoner made a sound that might have been laughter. "The Villani are weak. They exist only to serve the strong. Soon all weak species will serve the Korth Dominion, or die." Thompson leaned forward, his expression cold. "And what about humans? Are we weak?" The Korth prisoner's small eyes narrowed. "You fight well for such small creatures. But you are few, and we are many. Our main battle fleet has 500 ships. Your pathetic force will be crushed when our real warriors arrive." Back on the command bridge, Admiral Carter received Thompson's intelligence report with growing concern. Korth were planning something much larger than a simple expansion into Vellani space. Their ultimate goal appeared to be the conquest of the entire galactic core, including human territory. Carter made a decision that would change humanity's role in galactic politics forever, instead of simply defending Vellani space and waiting for the next Korth attack. She would take the war directly to the enemy's home system. The human fleet would launch a preemptive strike that would eliminate the Korth threat permanently. All ship commanders, this is Admiral Carter, she announced over the fleet communication system. We are not here just to defend the Vellani Federation. We are here to ensure that no peaceful species will ever again face the threat of Korth aggression. We will carry this war to the enemy's home territory. Captain Morrison received his new orders with satisfaction. The Endeavor would lead a battle. Grouped deep into Korth space, supported by Captain Kelly's Marines and Commander Patterson's destroyers. Their mission was to locate and destroy the Korth shipyards and military installations before the aliens could launch their planned invasion. Colonel Amy Rodriguez worked around the clock to organize the logistics for such an ambitious operation. Moving a large fleet deep into enemy territory required enormous amounts of fuel, ammunition, and supplies. Her transport ships would have to establish hidden supply depots along the route to Korth space. Colonel called her aide Captain Pete Wilson. The stealth reconnaissance ships are reporting back from Korth territory. They've located the main enemy shipyards and identified 3 major military bases. Rodriguez studied the intelligence. Reports noting the distances and defensive positions. We'll need to hit all 3 targets simultaneously. If even one base survives, they could send word to other Korth fleets, and we'd face reinforcements we can't handle. As the human fleet prepared for its deep strike mission, word spread throughout the galaxy. The peaceful Althari Republic sent urgent messages to other species, warning about the growing human military presence. The Centauri Trade Alliance requested immediate meetings with Earth's ambassadors, seeking assurance that human expansion would not threaten their commercial interests. But Admiral Carter had no time for diplomatic concerns. The Korth represented a threat not just to the Vellani, but to every peaceful species in the galaxy. If they were allowed to complete their expansion plans, billions of innocent people would suffer under Korth occupation. The human fleet began its journey toward Korth space, leaving behind a garrison force to protect the Vellani refugees. As they traveled through hyperspace, every human crew member understood that they were about to fight the most important battle in their species. History. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity's protective instincts were fully unleashed against those who preyed on the innocent. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Korth home system, and what they saw made even veteran warriors pause in shock. Hundreds of alien warships filled the space around 3 massive shipyards, each facility larger than any human space station. The Korth had been preparing for total galactic conquest on a scale that dwarfed anything the galaxy had seen before. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of her flagship, studying the tactical display that showed enemy positions throughout the system. 500 Korth battleships were arranged in defensive formations around their industrial centers, exactly as the interrogated prisoners had claimed. The sight would have terrified most species into immediate retreat. All ships, this is Admiral Carter, she announced over the fleet communication system. What you see before you is the staging ground for an invasion that would have destroyed dozens of peaceful worlds. Today we ensure that invasion never happens. Captain Morrison led the first attack wave aboard the Endeavor, his battle group. Targeting the primary shipyard where new Korth vessels were under construction, the human ships moved in perfect coordination, their crews trained for exactly this type of deep strike mission. Unlike the Korth, who relied on overwhelming numbers and brute force, the humans used precision and tactical superiority. The opening salvo came from Commander Patterson's destroyer squadron. His ships launched waves of long-range missiles that struck the shipyard's defensive platforms before the Korth could react. The alien weapons emplacements exploded in brilliant flashes, clearing the way for the main assault force. Major Tony Garcia led his special operations teams in a daring assault on the shipyard's command center. His soldiers used powered armor that allowed them to fight in the vacuum of space, boarding Korth facilities through breached hull sections. The aliens had never faced boarding actions before. Their security forces were unprepared for humans who could fight in zero gravity. Control center secured, Garcia reported over the tactical network. Beginning demolition of critical systems. The Korth fleet responded with predictable fury, sending waves of battleships toward the human attack force.
Admiral Carter had
anticipated this reaction. Captain Kelly's assault carrier launched its full complement of fighter craft. Piloted by men and women who had learned to fly in the dangerous space around Earth's moon, Lieutenant Sam Martinez led his fighter squadron in a desperate battle against Korth interceptors. The alien pilots were skilled, but they flew like they had always fought, expecting their enemies to run when faced with superior numbers. Human pilots had been trained in Earth's asteroid fields, where a single mistake meant death in the cold. Vacuum of space. "Red Squadron, follow my lead," Martinez called over the radio as he dove toward a formation of Korth fighters. "Remember, these guys have never fought anyone who shoots back." The space battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Human ships fought with a combination of technological superiority and tactical innovation that overwhelmed the larger Korth force. Every human vessel was designed to survive damage that would destroy most alien ships. Their crews knew how to keep fighting, even when their systems were failing. Dr. Patricia Wells watched the battle from the medical bay of Admiral Carter's flagship, treating wounded human soldiers as they were brought back from the boarding actions. The doctor had seen many battles during her career, but the scale of this engagement was beyond anything in recorded galactic history. Dr. Wells called Nurse Janet Cooper as she worked on a wounded Marine. "This soldier has burns from Korth. Plasma weapons. The pattern is different from anything in our medical database." Wells examined the wounds, noting how the alien weapons affected human tissue. The Korth use a different plasma frequency than other species. Just the treatment protocols and alert all medical teams. We need to learn fast. On the bridge of the Endeavor, Captain Morrison coordinated the assault on the main shipyard while fighting off Korth battleships that tried to break through his defensive perimeter. His ship's armor was scarred and blackened from multiple hits. But the human dreadnought continued to function despite damage that would have crippled most vessels. Commander Brooks worked frantically at her tactical station, managing weapons. Fire against dozens of enemy targets simultaneously. "Captain, the shipyard's main reactor is showing signs of instability. If we can hit it with concentrated fire, the entire facility will be destroyed." Morrison nodded, understanding the implications. Destroying the shipyard would eliminate dozens of new Korth ships before they could be completed, but it would also kill thousands of alien workers and prisoners. For a moment, he hesitated, remembering humanity's commitment to protecting innocent life then. He received a report from Major Garcia's boarding team. The Special Forces soldiers had discovered holding cells filled with captured civilians from dozens of different species. The Korth were using slave labor to build their invasion fleet, working prisoners to death in their shipyards. "Fire everything." "We have it, that reactor," Morrison ordered. "But first, Garcia, get those prisoners to the escape pods." The final assault on the Korth home system lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the alien invasion fleet was completely destroyed there. Shipyards reduced to floating debris. The Korth military infrastructure that had taken decades to build was eliminated in a single decisive battle. But the humans showed unexpected mercy to defeated enemies. When Korth ships surrendered, they were accepted into protective custody. Rather than destroyed, Admiral Carter established refugee camps on the surviving Korth worlds, providing food and medical care to civilian populations who had nothing to do with their government's aggressive policies. Ambassador Zethkalar arrived with a Volani diplomatic mission just as the battle ended. The alien diplomat could barely comprehend what he was witnessing.
all the same humans.
Who had seemed like dangerous primitives, had just fought the largest space battle in galactic history and emerged victorious. "Admiral Carter," the ambassador said, through his translation device, "on behalf of the Volani Federation and the Galactic Council, I formally request that humanity accept full membership in our alliance. Not as junior partners, but as equals with significant influence in galactic affairs. Carter accepted the offer, but with conditions that surprised everyone. Humanity will join the galactic community, but not as conquerors or rulers. We will serve as protectors, ensuring that no aggressive species can threaten peaceful worlds again. The news of humanity's victory spread throughout the galaxy within days. Species that had once feared humans as dangerous Deathworlders now sought their protection and friendship. Defense agreements were signed, trade partnerships established, and cultural exchanges began. Captain Morrison found himself commanding a mixed fleet of human and alien vessels, patrolling the outer regions of known space. His crew now included Villani navigation specialists, Althari engineers, and even reformed Korth security officers who had chosen to serve under human command rather than return to their conquered homeworld. Dr. Wells published her research on interspecies cooperation, noting that humanity's greatest strength was not their weapons or tactics, but their willingness to risk everything to protect others. Her work became required reading at diplomatic academies throughout the galaxy. The Korth Dominion was reduced to a single world under international supervision, serving as a reminder to any species that might consider following their example. The age of unchecked aggression had ended, replaced by an era where peaceful species could thrive under the protection of humanity's guardian fleets. Years later, when new threats emerged from the unexplored regions of space, the galaxy knew who to call. The Deathworlders had found their true purpose not as conquerors, but as the defenders who answered when innocent people cried for help. And they always came charging in,